Hey, welcome in everyone to another episode of Building the Broncos. Hold on, we're going to wait for Facebook to really kick in so everybody's in here getting ready for a great show tonight. I'm excited to talk some football. And we got the thumbs up. Welcome in to Building the Broncos. I'm your host, Carl Dumler, and joining me, of course, is Mr. Nick Kendell. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty darn well. I've been on a writing spree. I'm always just I think it stems back to my college days where I've been a very manic writer and performer when it comes to getting all my work done. Like I will binge write. Like I wrote a 80-page scientific thesis in 48 hours about. I mean, granted, a lot of it is like charts and graphs because it's science, but still 80 pages. I'm just not going to sleep. And I just did it. So I've had 4 articles in the last 72 hours sent to Chad, each of them 5 pages long. So you're welcome, Chad. Thank you very much. And excited to be here tonight. I apologize if you guys hear any Russians screaming off in the background. They're putting up siding on the building next door that's going up. And I feel like I'm in a Call of Duty game because they're just screaming at each other in Russian constantly. So apologize for that if you guys do hear that.
Well, if we've got any Russian speakers, you can translate for us. And if it's radio appropriate, you can let us know.
No, it's half Russian and then the other half is cuss words. So okay, it's been interesting.
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to get some Bronco football talked about here in just a second, but I do want to turn it over to Nick to talk about our sponsor for tonight.
Yeah, today, guys, we have a lot to talk about, but today we have to say hello and thank you to our presenting sponsor of today's show, Manscaped. Listen up, fellas. 2020 sucked a big one. But it's 2021 now, which means it's time to embrace the new year, new me mindset. And the best way to start cultivating that is with the Manscaped products. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. If you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, and I'm not pointing any fingers here, Carl, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved this year, now and into the future.
Yeah, this, like I said, 2020 has been kind of a nightmare at times, not being able to see some family for different holidays. We didn't have our big family Christmas this year. It was the first time in my life that we've not had that. But 2021, we're going to get back on track. And of course, the best way to do that is with Manscaped of getting your grooming on. If you see this nice beard, this is courtesy of Manscaped, the trimmer, working on the beard, working on some other parts of my body. The wife really appreciates it. So make sure that you check out Manscaped.
Yeah, guys, 2020 was awful. Make sure your boys are refreshed and ready for new beginnings in 2021. That can go for your family jewels as well as the Broncos, Just got to improve, got to get better. Embrace the new year, new me mindset with Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you. And Carl, honestly, my favorite product that I've gotten from them is this really nice little travel. It's really simple, but it's like the travel grooming kit. And I always am losing fingernail clippings, files, tweezers, etc. And I'm a big backpacker. You best believe this guy's coming with me when I'm out there on the trails.
Yes, sir. Remember, that is, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code HUDDLE. Happy New Year to your boys. All right, Nick. Well, it looks like we've got some super chats already coming in here. We'll get to those here in just a second. But of course, we're going to be talking about the Senior Bowl. We're going to have Mr. Luke Patterson, who has been down there in Mobile, Alabama.
I know you're jealous.
I am. That was one of my favorite football memories of all time, was getting to be down there, see everything.
It was Baker Mayfield year too, right?
It was Josh Allen.
Phenomena.
Josh Allen was there too.
Yeah.
I almost took a heater to the head from that man.
You should have. Claim to fame.
I could sue him for millions now because he's going to be a 100 millionaire easily. But
40 million a year.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, welcome in everyone. Very excited to get some football going, and we already got a Matthew Stafford question in here. So let's get to it from Hunter Wertinen with a super chat. Really appreciate that. What's up, men? Would you guys rather use the perceived capital to trade for Stafford or trade up in the draft for Wilson/Lance? Hashtag Nick's Beer Fund.
Thank you very much, Hunter. Carl, I'll kick this to you, but I would also add, now I just said
Justin Fields.
Yes, yeah. Also in that slash when we're talking the hypothetical quarterbacks.
Right. So here's my issue is I think the difference in capital that you're going to have to give up is important in this question. because right now we're looking at possibly, I mean, I know it's early in the process. There's still a lot of time left. Things can change, but there's a good chance that the top 4 quarterbacks are gone in probably the first 6 picks.
I'd be shocked if any of the top 4 are there at 9. We just had Mel Kiper's mock draft come out today, and he did have Fields and Lance, falling right there by Denver, but they went 7 and 8. So
yeah,
they're kind of in that danger area.
Right. And you're going to have a lot of teams bidding for them. So I think it's probably going to start with 2 first-round picks to get up high enough to get one of these guys, if not more. Probably 2 first-round picks, second-round pick, and some late-round picks to go with it at least. Where I think with Matthew Stafford, maybe pick 9 is enough. Maybe another third-round pick. So there's a little bit of difference there in what you're giving up. Right now, honestly, man, I'm torn on this because I really love Wilson.
Yeah.
If you can get up to get Wilson, I like them all too, but I really like Wilson for his fit with Shermer. That's a big selling point for me if I think he jumps in and is right there, perfect. I'm personally, I like going the younger route just because you get more years of ability, plus you get the 5 years of cost control. So I'm probably trading up if I have that option of these things. I don't know if the Broncos are even going to have an option to be able to do that though.
Yeah, I mean, the first domino to fall has to be Watson, right? Like if he gets traded, that totally changes the landscape for pick 2 and 3, because that's probably where he's going to go. I mean, I'd prefer him to be a Bronco, but you literally can only trade upstairs. We have Jamal, taking off there, Bona. Yep, says he wants Jamal Killings saying he wants Watson. I want Watson too.
Yep.
If it comes down to the Jets versus the Dolphins versus the Broncos can't compete with the capital that those teams have. You're actually only allowed to trade draft capital up to 3 years in the future. And the Jets have 5 first-round picks in that time frame. The Dolphins have 4 first-round picks in that time frame. Broncos only have 3. Those teams also have quarterbacks that have more value on the market that can be sent off. And also the difference between pick 2/3 to 9 is another first-round pick. So, like, if those teams are in on Watson, the Broncos simply can't compete with their offers. I mean, it sucks because Watson, I think, is a top 5 quarterback. If there was a complete league redraft right now, I think Watson would be the second quarterback off the board. Like, that's how valuable and good he is. 25, this many years left. The only guy going above him is Patrick Mahomes. But, it's just, I just don't know if they could outcompete the Jets or the Dolphins given the parameters of the deal.
Right. All right. Well, that moves us to Casey Scheitz.
Sure. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Manscaped.
Saw Tim Jenkins' video on Wilson. Man, it looks like the right move. I love Locke and want him to work. Just too many questions and feels like a long shot. I do have to laugh because a month ago he said there's no other franchise quarterbacks in this draft other than Lawrence. And then he did this video and he's like, this is a franchise quarterback. So, it's just, and that's part of the evaluation process. The more you watch somebody, the more you get a better idea of what they're doing. And he looks great. He looks like he has everything you want in a franchise quarterback. He's smart. He's got a quick release. He's creative. He's got different arm angles, which is something that we're starting to see more and more be important in the NFL today. There's just so much to like about his game. But right now, it is hard to see him actually getting past 2.
Definitely hard to get in past 4, right? Like Arthur Smith coming in there, heavy play action with the Titans, now with the Falcons. Matt Ryan, obviously 1-2 years left, but the Falcons were a team where their win-loss total was not reflective to how they played. I think there was a thing where if every team that was leading at halftime won the game, the Falcons went from like 4-12 to 8-8. They just blew game after game this year. It didn't make any sense. So the Falcons aren't going to be picking this high again, probably, even though they're in a cap issue. So I think this is the year for them to go quarterback. If I were them, I'd be in on quarterback, especially with Matt Ryan's contract. So that's a team that I can't see Zach Wilson getting past 4 overall. Now, you never know. There's a lot of process left to go. Maybe something comes out about Zach Wilson's character that we didn't know, or maybe an injury. I mean, he did miss 2 years ago with an injury. He's a skinny, kind of a small framed guy. He needs to put on 20 to 30 pounds, but the arm talent is there. The tape is great. There's just so many good NFL throws. And like, even when the process isn't good, the results are great because the tools are that good. So I love Wilson. I'd probably try to trade up for any of them, but I also really love Fields and Lance. I just think that there's 4 pretty darn good quarterbacks in this class. And if you had a chance at any of them, you'd have to think long and hard about swinging on them. So speaking of swinging in, we got Mohammed Badri coming in. Mohammed, thank you so much for always being a great supporter of the show, not just this show, but Mohammed, I got a special surprise for you. The smooth killer is in the house now. Coming in here any second now. Oh, yeah, see, he's smiling. He looks like he's ready to go. I'm going to bring him on. Oh, there we go. Fist bump. Well, here's the fist bump as well. Welcome to the show. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Luke Patterson. How you doing, Luke?
What's up,
we
brothers?
were just talking about how jealous we are of you down in Mobile, and I had a mission for you. Tell me, how has the food been so far?
Oh,
what have you
man.
eaten?
The food's been great, Nick. I've been eating barbecue, man. Trying not to get the meat sweats down here. Carl, as you know, I went on this huge thing trying to lose weight, lost 40 pounds. Well, I feel like I'm going to be bringing back 40 pounds. And, the eating is good down here in the South, man. They're taking care of us. Everyone's been friendly. It's just, it's different than the Mile High City, man, to say the least.
Yep. I remember when I went down there a few years ago, man. We went to a couple restaurants that they put pretty much just paper towels down and then just dumped food on the table and said, good luck. And you're right. Those meat sweats are a real deal down there.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, Carl. And, I'm not so sure, who needs portion control when you're in the deep South, right? I mean, I got to eat like a pig if I'm eating pig, right? I got to do it, man. So, Nick, the food has been great, man. Dude, I got some pictures for you. You guys are going to be salivating. So I got you.
I am hungry now. But really, we're bringing you on here to talk about the Senior Bowl, what you've seen so far. Obviously, measurements were today. A lot of media isn't privy to that, but you did get to see the on-field action. And given that there is no combine this year, typically Indianapolis has been the mecca of the offseason. This year it's Mobile. So I'm curious if you've picked up anything, anybody's really caught your eye, and if you've heard any rumors outside of what's going on in the field there, because there's a lot of ideas and talk going on around the Senior Bowl process itself.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a few things, actually. Tough Borland and Khalil Herbert, two players that I both wrote about yesterday. Well, they got into it a little bit today. A couple good pops from the Ohio State linebacker and the Virginia Tech running back. Definitely loved it because it was competitive, it was athletic, and it was clean. So I love that good old-fashioned football, but Nick, I do have some players, man. I am so impressed with this Oregon cornerback, Thomas Graham Jr., 5'11", 193 pounds. Now, don't let that size fool you. This guy plays big. He plays really big, okay? He led college football with pass deflections prior to the 2020 season, ultimately opted out of the 2020 season. And when he was on the field today, guys, he didn't miss a beat. He was covering receivers stride for stride. He's got some of the most fluid hips I've ever seen. It's all in the hips. I feel like Chubbs from Happy Gilmore right now. I was just so impressed with this kid. He was coaching his teammates. He was John with receivers in a clean way, so he doesn't have arrogance per se, but an athletic arrogance, if you will. I love the way he squares up his shoulders and a real bolt of lightning. Obviously, he's going to fit in a zone scheme, press man, but to me, he could really be a universal corner. I saw him moving from left to right. He's small enough and has the speed to play slot if he needs to. A little guy with a big game. He's projected as a third rounder right now, but Nick, Carl, as you guys know, those things can change, and his stock is significantly on the rise, at least for day one of the 2021 Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll see him personally get up into that day one area just because the cornerback, it's such a specific athletic tools. It's a have or have not position to be taken day one, but day two, I mean, that's a great spot for him. And given the Broncos need that cornerback, I mean, they don't need one cornerback. They need two or three. They need to get one in free agency before the draft even happens. Right. So you don't go in from a point of weakness. So, that's a guy to keep an eye on. I'm very curious about that. We got also the boss man in the house, Chad Jensen, a super chat superstar for us today. This is a question for Luke. Which inside linebackers and corners stood out at Lad Peebles today? Gazoon tight on that Lad Peebles. No, whatever. But yeah, we already Thomas Graham is one that stood out. Any other corners or off-ball linebackers?
Yeah, so actually, I'm getting ready to actually just watch the practice film right now. I was deep into the wide receivers and the corners today. The linebackers and defensive line and the linemen, they were hidden away, kind of stashed away from me. So I got to get into that a little bit. But before I just completely transition away from the defense, I got to talk about Wyatt Hubbard, Kansas State edge defensive end. I like this kid a lot, guys. He reminds me that Broncos country, don't hold me to it, but he's got shades of Derek Wolfe to his game. This guy uses his leverage, his strength, and he's smart. He contains the edge. He's constantly getting in the backfield. He wrecked practice for the first few team reps today. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm really happy to see this kid, a former teammate of Dalton Reisner, Kansas State, right? So really curious to see if maybe we could get Dalton Reisner to talk a little bit about his former teammate, but he's a big cat, 6'3", 265 pounds. He takes today extremely serious. Nick, Carl, this guy is out there trying to play special teams perfectly. Everyone else is kind of checked out. When's the last time you've seen a defensive end trying to perfect special teams? It shows me that he cares. And if he cares that much for special teams, man, I want to see what he's going to do getting after the quarterback. So I really like this kid, Wyatt Hubbard. When you look at his stats, he's got 20 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 33 tackles for loss. That's just super impressive to me. And it speaks to his ability of getting past the line of scrimmage. He's got a high motor, 94 total tackles, someone that could be a problem for opposing offenses in the future.
I'll be completely honest with you. Go ahead, Carl.
Oh, I was just going to say, he did have short arms when he measured in today. That was something. He had some of the shortest arms of any of the defensive linemen from what I understand. I'm not saying that's end all be all, because measurements are measurements. They're just a part of the equation, obviously. Sure. But there was some people who saw it and were like, "What in the world? That's not good." But obviously, if he's wrecking practice, he's doing something right against guys that are going to be playing in the NFL here pretty soon.
Well, I am curious. Go ahead. Go ahead, Luke.
Sorry about that. Well, what's odd about that, Carl, and I'm really interested because now I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the tape here as soon as we're done. I did see a couple one-on-ones from where I was at, and it almost seemed like he was able to get those short arms underneath some of the tackles, almost right here in that throat area. So when that defensive end is given that powerful punch right up there into that area, you're throwing that offensive lineman not only off balance, but you're making their back arch a little bit too. I'm really curious now. Now I got to go look at those arms, because if he's got short little nubby arms and he's doing that to tackles, dude, that's amazing to me, man. It makes me even more excited. I'm not saying he's polished. I'm not saying he's the greatest edge rusher ever, but I'm very, very curious.
Yep.
Where does he play in the Fangio scheme? You say 6'3", 265 with short arms. That to me gives off some alarm bells just because of the actual kind of fit. I mean, ideally, I guess that would kind of be that power edge rusher with where Chubb plays, but it's not really a 5-tech. I mean, you're not going to ask him to 2-gap at that size. It's not like Derek Wolfe, who played at 290, 295 with long arms.
Yeah. Wolfie was able to move around, and he still is out there in Baltimore, right? I mean, for a while there, it was like he was the only defensive lineman, him and Calais Campbell at their ripe ages. Maybe the Derek Wolfe I'm just a little too enthusiastic, and Wolfie's one of my favorite players. So maybe I need to calm down a little bit on that. That's why I'm here talking to you guys, so you guys can calm me down a little bit. But yeah, where would he fit? I think he fits as a new classic edge rusher, a new class, a new
age.
Yeah, you're not seeing Von Miller anymore. You're not seeing 240-pound pass rushers coming out dominating the league. You're seeing 250s, 260s, 270s, and 250s even smaller. You're seeing that Khalil Mack, more of a power bull rush, something that can contain the edge, somebody that's assignment sound and not willing to bail on their teammates. But guys, something else. I know we all love to talk quarterback, right? And I was really disappointed Kyle Trask wasn't able to participate because of that ankle injury. A lot of Florida fans. Yeah, a lot of Florida fans down here. Kyle Trask is the best ever. And then no Kyle Trask. But Mac Jones, he solidified himself even more today as a first-round quarterback. Make no mistake about that. The guy was polished. He was going through short, medium, and deep routes. He commanded the field. Make fun of his picture all you want with the national championship game. I don't really care about that. This guy can play football. Cigars in the mouth. He doesn't look like a Maxim model. I really don't care, dude. I really don't care. This guy can play football. He's a proven winner, and he was the only quarterback that was really commanding the field today.
See, that's interesting. I wasn't there, so I can't speak for it, but I heard a lot of people praising Jamie Newman's traits, and in a side-by-side said that he blew away Mac Jones as far as the actual arm talent.
Okay, that's interesting to me. In terms of arm talent, sure.
I mean, and velocity and the ability to make an effortless throws down the field.
Yeah. I mean, everybody in the NFL has a strong arm, right? Supposedly at this level, but what are you going to do with it? Are you accurate? Are you precise? What's your cadence look like? What does your footwork look like? A lot of different times you saw Mac Jones being able to get in there and not keep his offensive line waiting. some of those quarterbacks today. I'm trying to get used to the rosters right now too, because I didn't get the official printout. Today was kind of a mess, but they have their offensive linemen waiting, and those guys are starting to get that lactic acid building up, and timing wasn't right. Mac Jones just felt like he was firing on all cylinders, making it smooth, and it wasn't just because he was wearing an Alabama helmet. I'm not a big fan of these Alabama quarterbacks, Nick. Carl, I just, they kind of carry that Alabama weight of, well, yeah, you played for Alabama, but are you really a quarterback? Mac Jones is really a quarterback, and I was excited to at least see him on day one.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, before we let you get back to it, Luke, Carl, since you had been there before, and this is Luke's first time down there, and you have the gift of hindsight, after doing this and kind of taking away initial impressions and now letting that 2018 draft class play out, any advice for Luke out there, things to watch, things not to get too swept in, or things to really value since you've been there before and you've seen how it played out?
Yeah, I'd say, one thing that I learned is you do kind of have to get a little bit more hyper-focused, because if you try to take in everything, you're going to miss everything. So, if you're going to commit, hey, today is defensive line, offensive line, because they're going to be facing each other, commit to that. If I'm going to watch the quarterbacks today, and it means you're going to probably miss some things here and there as well. But at the same time, like I said, if you're trying to take in the entire field, it gets so overwhelming because so much is going on. It doesn't work out well. That's why it's kind of nice. When I was down there, I had a couple other guys, Sire was down there. Jeff was down there. And so we kind of divided and conquered and kind of worked together on some of those things. And I'm sure you've seen that. It is, like I said, it's just so much going on and it's so fast. It's hard to completely soak it all in.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming at times, right? Because I felt like I missed out so much on the offensive line, defensive line today. But you know what? That's what practice film is for too, right?
Right.
So I'm getting ready to turn that on. The day is not over for me by any means, and I'm excited, just like you guys. You guys, I know you guys are up in the wee hours in the early mornings doing the exact same homework I'm doing. And the one thing I've noticed here, it's how you spend your time here. There are those that come here to socialize and buddy and everything else. And then there are those that are here to work. And I can assure you, just like Carl, Nick, Chad, everybody's been on the road at some point evaluating college talent. MHH, man, we've got a huge scouting community in terms of our fan base. And I feel like our analytics and scouting as a team is it's absolutely superior, man. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. And I was super pumped to come on with you guys because you guys are draft nerds just like me, man. And I can't wait to get back and start talking to you guys about some of the things I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Well, little homework. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I remember actually being down there and some media guys were making fun of us for paying so close attention to practice. And I'm like, dude, this is the stuff I love. And it's just another part of the equation. Like, I'm not going to say this is the end all be all of the evaluation process, but it's still a big part of it because you get to see these guys lined up against other guys that are going to be drafted.
Exactly. Well, and it's no secret, so I'm rooming with my boy Cecil, who's down here covering for his outlets as well. We don't see each other at practice. I see you at the car. That's just kind of how it goes. I've got my work. He's got his work. And this is a work trip. This isn't a vacation, just like you guys do as well. We don't spend our dollars and our time just to joke around. Broncos country is serious about the draft. The NFL, this is it, guys. This is the in-person event that's happening. So Nick, you've been to the combine, you've been on the road. Carl, you've been on the road, you've been covering the draft. You guys know how this is. I can assure you, I'm putting in the work just like you guys are. And MHH, this offseason, man, it's going to be one of the biggest ever for Broncos and Mile High Huddle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a little bit of homework for you, Luke, before we get you on out of here. I'm just curious. I want to hear how the Trench Boys did. Those are my favorite. It's the most obvious one-on-one battles you have out there, like the running backs versus the linebackers in coverage. How translatable is that to the game? But one-on-ones with the Trench guys, that's where you can tell. Dudes are different. Javon Kinlaw last year came in for like 10 snaps, and they're like, okay, he's done. This dude's incredible. We don't need to see any more. And that was it. So I'm curious your thoughts, how this worked, especially with a pretty good offensive tackle class there in Mobile this year. So get back to me. Let me know.
Yeah, there's some road graders, Nick. I saw some road graders. I saw some pancakes. I saw a lot of guys on their back today. So I got to get into that offensive line, that defensive line. I want to know what's in the water at Notre Dame with their offensive linemen, because it seems like they've just got beasts over there, dude. They're just able to put out offensive linemen all the time. So homework assignment accepted. I'll make sure I have that assignment in by midnight tonight.
All right, Luke. Well, stay safe and soak it up.
All right. I appreciate you guys having me on. Be sure to go to Building the Broncos and give these guys the best review. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. And make sure you guys follow Luke on Twitter to follow his journey down in Mobile covering the Broncos for Mile High Huddle at Luke Patterson LP. Luke, we'll see you next time.
All right, be good, fellas. Go Broncos.
All right. Well, before we get back to, I see we've got tons of super chats in here and lots of questions going on. So we'll get to that here in just a second. But before we do, I do want to let everyone know that tonight's live stream is also sponsored by sportsbetting.com. Broncos country, gambling is legal in the state of Colorado, and here's what makes sportsbetting.com a no-brainer for all sports fans. They have sharp odds and low juice. They have in-house bookmakers, and they are not a third-party provider of odds. Reduced juice and best prices. They are hassle-free. They also have hassle-free bonuses with a one-time rollover, meaning the bonus money is yours after you bet one time. Other sites sometimes can be up 5 to 30 times. I've gone through that myself before. They have 24/7 live customer support, always a real person in the U.S. Also, here's the kicker. At sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle, you can get a 100% risk-free week of sports betting up to $300. Not just one bet, but all of your bets. Play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings at the end of the week, sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle will cover 100% of the difference, up to $300 with a one-time rollover. So head on over to sportsbetting at sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle. That's sportsbetting.com/Mile High Huddle and capitalize on a risk-free week of sports betting up to $300.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, we should get to some of these super chats. Here we go. Buana, I'm taking my hands off the wheel here. We're going to let you take it away. So we got Mr. Boggins coming in here, a fellow friend of the Pacific Northwest. Hopefully once this sick little bug is a little bit more subsided, we can meet up for a hike or a brew or a game or all three at once. So we got him coming in here. Stafford is injury prone and Broncos won't have the cap space. These repetitive false narratives. Can you please drop the knowledge? Well, first off, Stafford's missed 8 games in his entire career. I believe it's 8 games out of 160 something. So that's pretty good. He did get injured down the stretch last year, and it was obvious that it was harming him, especially that Buccaneers game. It was difficult to watch. So, I mean, there is some concerns, the back, whatnot. It's not that it's not a concern, but the fact that you'd say he's injury prone, I'd say that there's a better argument for Drew Lock being injury prone, considering how young he is and to have 2 injuries in back-to-back years. So that concerns me greatly. And also the Broncos won't have the cap space. They have the cap space. I mean, Matt Stafford next year would be $20 million against the cap, which right now, before this next slog of quarterbacks get paid, that would make him I believe the 16th highest paid quarterback against the cap next year, which is, a very reasonable contract. You have guys like Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan making $40 million against the cap, more than twice as much as Matt Stafford. And Matt Stafford is just as good, if not better than those guys for half the price. So I don't really agree with those false narratives. That's a good call out, Mr. Boggins.
Right. No, and that has definitely been out there. It's just people trying to find excuses to not go after him. There's bigger reasons, I would say, than that of why not to go get him. I'd say the draft capital is a bigger deal than the injuries or the cap concern.
It's a great contract. It's one of the easiest tradable quarterback contracts I've seen in a long time. Right. Obviously, the Lions take some dead cap, but $20 million and then $23 million for whatever team that he goes to for 2 years for a 33-year-old quarterback, same age as Russell Wilson. And, the fact that there's no dead money on it, what are we doing here? That's a pretty digestible contract.
Right. Oh, sorry. Buana, that's my bad.
Hands off the wheel, Carl.
We got Dylan Melton here coming in here with the super chat. Really appreciate that. And I know. All right, John, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah. And then we have the Honest News Network coming in here with the super chat. The Stanford hate is insane. He has been part of a dysfunctional or Stafford, sorry. I thought we were having a college draft question here. He has been part of a dysfunctional franchise with no offensive line, no run game, and no defense. Number 9 for Stafford, please. He's right. Offensive line for most of his career has not been great. I don't think he's had a 1,000-yard rusher at any point in his career. And the defense, he's had one top 10 defense in his entire time with Detroit. That team went, I think, either 10-6 or 11-5. I think it was 11-5 that year.
And I think that year he had 8 fourth quarter comebacks still. So, I mean, goodness. That's the big thing too. Like obviously the Lions are, you want to talk about being stuck in the pit of misery. Bronco fans do not know the pit of misery in comparison to a franchise like the Detroit Lions. And just, they never have been able to build around Stafford. Like these teams, like, obviously the Packers have been the cream of the crop in the NFC North. But every 2-3 years, you have a really good defense show up with the Chicago Bears, with the Minnesota Vikings. That gives them a run for the money. I mean, a really good roster, obviously not the quarterback like Rodgers, but you have to have an overwhelming roster to compete with a first ballot Hall of Fame level quarterback. And that's just, Stafford's never had that. He's never had that defense to go with him. And I think that defense is a bit overrated as far as diminishing returns with how good it gets, unless you have like an all-time unit, which is even harder to get than a Hall of Fame quarterback. We're talking about once in a franchise history level of defense. That's harder than a franchise quarterback or an elite quarterback. But still, I mean, he just never had a defense to go with him. And I think you really kind of have to have that top 15, top 10 with a guy like Stafford, which resources be damned if they give it up for Stafford. I think they could have that with Fangio.
Right. And I do like what Marcus Lewis had to stay here. I do like Stafford, but whether the GM does is the question. I think right there, I mean, you've got probably the Broncos know Stafford better than almost any other franchise around, not named the Detroit Lions. You got a GM that has watched them in division with Peyton. You've got Vic Fangio, who coached against that guy 2 games a year there for a couple years down there with Chicago. You got Shermer, obviously, with the Vikings at one point. So all of them have had really big-time eyes on Stafford himself. If they go after him aggressively, obviously that shows they really think this guy could be what gets them over the top to getting them back into the playoff race and getting them back into the conversation of competing for the division.
Yeah, and something that I obviously had that really long piece. Thank you for editing that in the wee hours yesterday, Chad, that I sent, just kind of making a pitch for Stafford. And something that I've kind of come around on with Stafford is, to me, it really mimics the Chiefs adding Alex Smith. Now, obviously, Alex Smith wasn't going to lead that team to the promised land. He wasn't the solution, but he could be part of the solution. And I think that's what you can do with Stafford too, because right now, make no mistake about it, this Broncos offense has been floundering year after year. They are stuck, rowing a boat with one oar in circles. And Drew Lock, he's got upside, but there's just a lot of erratic play with him. And I'm not sure if that's what this team, especially the offense, is constructed. Right. Having that young guy, it's kind of like going from Tebow to Manning. Now, obviously not to the same extent, but you have this overwhelmingly young offense, especially in the weapons sides. And these guys need a quarterback that can help them develop, show them the ropes, say, this is what is expected of you to reach your ceiling. And I'm not sure if you can do that with Drew Lock. I mean, obviously there's an argument you can grow with them, but I mean, again, going back to Tebow to Elway built and developed Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas. And that difference was, he earned those guys money. And I think you have Alberto Cuebanam, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton. And then you bring in a known commodity like Stafford, who's going to come in and say, this is how it's done. This is what you're supposed to do. Why aren't you at this spot at this certain time with my drop? You're not timing it correctly. And having the gall and the backing up to tell them that. You don't have that with Locke. So, there's a lot to be said that would make sense for Stafford. I don't think he is the solution, but he puts you in a position to be part of the solution long-term.
Yep. All right. Michelle Parker coming in here. What are the real odds for Broncos getting Stafford? Pretty high. I mean, they do have sports betting out there. Broncos right now are, depending on which sports betting site you're looking at, are either first or second in almost every single one of them. With either the Colts or the 49ers kind of right there. It seems like those 3 teams are getting the most talk when it comes to Stafford. I still think the Patriots probably have some say. Wouldn't surprise me if Belichick decided to go down that kind of route. But right now, I do think the Broncos stand a really good chance. I think Stafford is the kind of quarterback that they really like you said. And it also is those young guys wanting to see them develop. You can't sit here and go through it. It really is not just about Drew Lock. You have to kind of remember that. As much as if they had older veterans, then it could be about Drew Lock and those guys help and bring him along. But you need somebody that's going to help those young guys really reach their potential instead of getting kind of hung back. I saw a stat earlier today, and Jerry Jeudy on catches that were like how much they should have been able to gain after the catch, he was dead last in ability to go make a play after the catch because of Yes. I mean, it was like everybody else in a big pile up here, Jerry Jeudy off the screen. And that's just inaccurate passes. And Jerry Jeudy, a big part of his game is that run after catch ability. That's
and
where
yards
he
after
shines.
catch is a quarterback stat. Any quarterback evaluator would tell you that. Yards after catch, quarterback stat.
Yep.
Man, it's frustrating. So anyway, we got the odds here. And I saw right when this podcast started up, we had a bunch of people kind of saying, who's saying that the Broncos had the best odds? Well, sportsbetting.com and Vegas themselves now have the Broncos as the odds-on favorite. To land Stafford, they have 3-1 odds with the Colts at 4-1. Washington football team 5-1. The Bears at 6-1. So, guys, it's very much like I remember I was saying, the Broncos might be interested in Flacco because it makes sense given the direction they're going and a move that Elway would make. Also, hello. Vegas is over here saying that the Broncos are the odds-on favorite to land Flacco. Have you guys been to Vegas? Have you seen those casinos? Have you seen those halls? Vegas does not put out bad odds because they're losing money. They're making money off you. So if the Broncos are the number one favorite, according to Vegas, don't dismiss it. I know we have so many people going against stats these days and expertise, and it's just that's a whole different issue entirely. God, don't send me down that rabbit hole, Carl. Pull me away. Thank you very much. Want to save me here. We got Machiavelli, the GOAT. Thank you very much with the awesome Tupac picture there. R.I.P. Drew Lock, first 17 games, 4,000 yards, 23 interceptions, 18. 23 interceptions, 18 or 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Stafford first year. 2,267, 1320. This is a classic overreaction. We need to stick with Locke. One thing I will say is you were talking about a team that earned Stafford by going 0-16 the year prior, which is incredibly different than the offensive supporting cast and the supporting cast in general that the Broncos have. I mean, night and day different. You're talking 0-16. Hello, just horrible. Also, since 2009, guys, the game has changed. It doesn't seem like it would if you look at it and just, that's not that long ago. Look at the average stats, passing stats in 2009 compared to where we are at today. I mean, the bar has changed so much. Passing the ball has never been easier. So looking at the raw stats, it's not a good way to do it. It's like there's this graphic of Andy Dalton's first 3 years in Cincinnati versus Peyton Manning. And Andy Dalton does better than Peyton Manning in every single statistical category. The game's changed. You cannot compare the raw stats year to year without putting it in context to their peers that singular season. We appreciate Machiavelli, but got to call that one out. That's just a bad stats.
Yep.
Bad interpretation of the stats. Misleading.
Yep. I agree. All right, Oscar coming in here. Who are some running backs with pass catching ability to look out for in the draft this year?
I have one, and he's been tearing it up at UCLA and at Mobile. Felton. He is a guy who's playing running back and wide receiver there, and he has been cooking safeties and linebackers alike. Now, granted, he's a running back / wide receiver. And I am curious how much Shermer would want that guy because historically he's really liked, the big, thick boys at running back. He really wants a monster kind of power back. But if you're looking for a pass catching option, I really do like Felton. Also, I really like Verrett out of Oregon as well. So that's another guy to look out for also. Yeah,
a couple good names there. I like the couple guys there at UNC, sorry. Javonte Williams. And then I'm thinking the other one, Carter.
Oh, Michael Carter.
Yeah, he's the one that I've been impressed with his catching ability.
He's a small, thick boy. A little bit of a CJ Anderson feeling there, like 5'8", 210 or something.
Yeah.
That's always a lot of fun to watch.
But those two guys have some explosive ability. I saw them take a couple catches, turn them into huge plays. This is a really pretty good, solid running back class. Nothing like outstanding, like a guy that's going to go top 10, but you got some guys there in each round that you can really like for many different reasons. And I really like. There's a lot of really explosive guys in this draft.
Yeah.
So if you're looking on possibly the idea of moving on from Phillip Lindsay, this is a draft where you can find a guy that's going to replace a lot of what he brought to the table with that explosion.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. We got Mike Evans coming in here. Great name, Mike Evans. And thank you very much. I believe you were here last Saturday as well. So we really appreciate you coming back here on Tuesday. Is there a safety we should draft in rounds 3 to 5? I'll be honest with you. I've not done that much work on the safety class yet. I do know I did go back after Lance pleaded with me to go check out Grant from UCF, and he impressed me a lot. I do think round 3 would be good for him. Other than that, though, I do like Bledsoe from Mizzou, who Eric has given me a hard time about, just because I really like safeties that can play 2 high shells and then come down and match up in the slot. I think having that versatility is key now. He's been asked to do man more than zone, so there's some projection there. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I guess the easy answer for me would be the cornerback who got toasted at Ohio State that now is probably going to have to make a move to safety, whose name is escaping me right this second. A lot of hype coming in the year. Shaun Wade, I think he probably needs to be a safety with coming down into play slot ability. I think that's his best fit to make money in the NFL, and that's what it's about for those guys. But I don't think it's as good of a safety class as last year.
All right. Then we got Meek coming in here with the super chat. How do you feel about Broncos taking Julian Neiman later?
I have not done any work on Julian Neiman, so I'm not going to say anything out of ignorance.
I haven't
Give
either.
us more information. It's still early in the draft process and haven't seen everybody. And it's something I'm going to try to do for you guys as well. Is when I say a prospect, I am going to say the position in school as well. So you guys have a better idea. I know that Buana has complained about it in the past, where he's like listening to ones and they'll be way down the rabbit hole. And it's like, I have no idea what position or what school we're talking about at all.
He's completely right. That's good information to put with every pick that we're talking about, or any draft prospect.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, got Marcus Lewis Henna coming in here with a super chat and a big thumbs up back right to you. Appreciate the super chat, and very glad that you're joining us here this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I heard Leatherwood looked bad. He had a couple bad reps today, from what I understand, but he had a couple good ones as well. This is always the hard part with the one-on-one trench battles. They favor the defense
because they have 2 ways to go.
Right. Where in a regular season, you got your 5 guys. Usually you got some help to the inside or tight end next to you so you can cheat inside. There's very rarely where you have a rep like what you're going to see in those one-on-one reps.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that they have 2-way goes, it's kind of like a receiver that's playing the slot versus the boundary. You have just so much more space to operate. So those one-on-ones will always tend to favor the defense. Also, historically, the offensive linemen struggle the first day. So anybody who came out today on the offensive line that looked good, that's somebody maybe to put a feather in your cap on. Just kind of remember that one. I know that Hudson from Cincinnati is somebody who flashed today, and he is really toolsy. He was a 4 or 5-star recruit that went to Michigan, and they flipped him around offensive line, defensive line, transferred to Cincinnati this year. He was the guy who was ejected with that really dumb penalty. I don't know if you caught the Georgia Cincinnati game. It really swung the entire direction of the game. Yeah. Because he had a targeting one where he just came in late. But again, dumb mistake. You'd have to ask him about that. But the tools, the upside project there, I mean, he's got it all. It's just he's going to need a little time to marinate. So that's a guy. Day 3, early round 4. Fingers crossed, please, baby, be there. That's what I'm hoping for.
And I'll add one more thing. When you watch some of these one-on-ones between wide receivers and cornerbacks, there's some of these plays that they are like 5 or 6 seconds into it, and the receiver finally does something to shake the defender, and it looks silly for the defender. Yeah. Time how long it takes, because if it's longer than 3 seconds before the football's released, most likely that's not happening in the NFL.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great point as well. It's something, sometimes you saw Jerry Jeudy with all these routes as well, and somebody from the NFL or somebody who coach would be like, that's great and all. It was 5-6 seconds before he really roasted that guy. So, I mean, it's great to see. And there are plays where that makes sense, but you have to be able, that's why Devontae Adams focuses so hard on those release packages. You have to be able to get open like that. So, it's interesting. Good call out there, Carl. Buana pulling it in. Here we go. If we draft beers, which one goes in the first round? Kenneth Booker, I am such a snob. I always have been. I'm definitely fit out here in the Pacific Northwest when it comes to my beer taste. They're not sponsoring the pod, and you always say no free advertising, but I really miss Toppling Goliath out in Iowa. That was probably my favorite brewery of choice. They make a beer called Pseudo Sue. Oh my God. It's a Citra hopped pale ale. Incredible. So good. I also miss Big Grove, which was my local watering hole in Iowa City back in the day. Out here in the Pacific Northwest, great notion. I've been very impressed with their beers so far, but it's stout season. I love good stouts, good IPAs. The higher the ABV, the better.
And I'm not a beer connoisseur, so I will stick out of this conversation.
And you owe me a keg. You better not send me something like Corona or like Land Shark or whatever the heck is going on.
Fine. I'll get you something good.
Here we go. We got CG Orange Crush. Would you guys like Mac Jones in the second round if he slipped into the second round? That's about the area where you'd start to be like, what, this is worth it. And honestly, I still feel this way about Drew Lock even back then. If you thought he was good enough to take at 41, you probably thought he was good enough to take at 32. And getting that 5th round option is probably worth it because it just gives you another year of control and flexibility. Granted, here we are now. Didn't happen that way. Mac Jones in the 2nd round, though. In a vacuum, yes. For the Broncos, no. You're talking about bringing in another developmental quarterback that's in the same sort of wishy-washy, is he the guy, is he not the guy, that you have with Drew Lock right now. If you bring in a 1st-round pick, top 10 pick, that's a totally different conversation. But a 2nd-round flyer guy, again, even though you're already like, I don't know what we have in Drew Lock after 2 years in the league, it just seems that's a recipe for disaster.
Right. I'd rather look at one of the athletic guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, like a Jamie Newman that you were talking about earlier, that has some higher upside, that if he fails, you're just like, well, it was mid-late round pick anyway, no big deal. 2nd round pick, you're really thinking, hey, this guy has starting potential, or he needs to. And right now, Mac Jones, I'd be going back and forth, and I'd rather take a higher risk it's not even higher risk, it's higher ceiling kind of guy later in the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, Mac Jones is going to be good. He's just not my cup of tea. There's enough questions there as far as the physical tools that makes me skeptical of how he translates to today's NFL, given the inconsistencies of offensive lines and how much he's going to ask to be a playmaker. He can't just be a point guard. He has to be a playmaker in today's NFL. And I don't know. But thank you so much, CJ, for the question. We really appreciate it. DNV3, you're always in here. We love you. You always have some good questions. This is a good one right here. Does Stafford even make the Broncos a playoff team? This is a tough question because, first off, what are the Broncos getting up to give Stafford? Or giving up to get Stafford? If you're giving up 9, a 2nd round pick, and a 3rd round pick next year, you really limit yourself as far as what kind of pieces you can bring on the defense to turn it around. You have plenty of needs on the defensive side of the ball. This defense needs 2 cornerbacks. They probably need a shot in the arm at linebacker. Who knows what's going on with Von Miller? I mean, you might need another edge rusher. You needed some more competition at right tackle. So, it is an issue. That being said, I posted this hyperbolically in a few Bronco Facebook groups just because I knew it would trigger a bunch of people of the Chiefs starting offensive line going into the Super Bowl. Holy shiitake mushrooms, Carl. I saved it there. Don't get me in trouble, Chad. It's terrible. It's a bunch of undrafted free agents. They're their best offensive lineman is the guy who Von Miller baptized in the Super Bowl, and Mike Remmers playing left tackle now. They're just a bunch of undrafted free agent guys now. Hats off to the offensive line coach there. But my God, just really goes to show if you have a good quarterback, you can cover some freaking holes. And Patrick Mahomes, he's better than a good quarterback, but man, it's you don't want to get too upset or too down the rabbit hole of this offensive line isn't good enough, because really, if it's not good enough, that's probably an indictment of the guy behind center to begin with. Right.
And that kind of brings us to Crispy's super chat. Do you see that one? I'll bring it up.
Oh, Crispy. I like the name. Thank you, Crispy.
Yeah. I think we could beat the Chiefs with Stafford finally. Probably play next January as a wild card. Keep up the work, guys. Love the show. Love the show, guys. Do you think our OC is a good fit for Stafford? So,
a few questions.
One, I think he is a great fit with Shermer. If you watch a lot of what he likes to do, he likes a lot of the either quick out routes, long out routes. So you need a quarterback that has a good arm that can actually hit those and has good timing. Stafford would have good timing because he's been in the league forever. And then the guy that can hit over the top as well, so that when they do some of those double moves, boom. So they have to respect those at least. I think he really is a really, really good fit. He's not always he's not always the greatest when it comes to timing, but I think his arm is good enough to make up for some of the things that he lacks in some of that. And that'd get better as the season progresses. But no, I think Shermer would love to have Matthew Stafford behind center doing a lot of things that he wants to do.
I mean, a shotgun offense with arm talent and 3 wide receiver sets, that's been what Stafford's been the best at the past few seasons. So I obviously think if you can get more play action in there, the better. We haven't reached a point of limiting return on play action, but price of acquisition needs to be included in the price. Absolutely, Willie G, 3234. Appreciate you, and also see you on Twitter all the time. We don't always agree, but God bless America, man. That's great. I am all about that. I do not want to be in an echo chamber. That's first off, that's boring. Second, we're going to take one from George Patton, not Peyton, where if everybody in the room has the same idea, somebody's not thinking. So we need different ideas in there. And I think the Broncos general manager would say the same thing. But that's a good point. I mean, really, there is a point where it costs too much to get the guy. And I do think it is interesting this year with a 9th overall pick, because I will be completely honest with you. I don't love giving up the 9th overall pick for Stafford. But if the Broncos are bent on going defense with that 9th overall pick, point to me the guy who's the obvious pick, because I do not see it. I mean, Micah Parsons, go read about him, guys. I just did a piece on him. There is like sexual assaults and hazing and issues galore. I mean, Bucky Brooks, who's a family friend who coached him in high school, says like, I don't know if this guy's mature enough. Red flags. And then you have, I really think there is something to be said about Patrick Surtain's safety. Not the safety position, but like how of much of a hit he's going to be, just how safe he is as far as being a hit. I don't think he's a top 10 pick in any class. I think he's more of like top 20, top 25 that's getting inflated because this class is just missing good defensive talent at the top. Yeah. It's good depth. The top 100 from that like 40 to 100 area, defense is great. Top 10, not great. And then you have Fairley, who has injury concerns, 1 year of tape at cornerback, not a great tackler, opted out this year. I don't know. I think it's a weird year to be that 9th pick. I'd preferably, if you can't get Sewell, and I really like Fairley still because he's a great scheme fit, great upside. If you can't get those guys, I don't hate giving it up for Stafford. I think I'd rather use it on a quarterback in this class. But you never know. And Stafford will never beat Mahomes. Well, that's good. Stafford doesn't have to beat Mahomes. The Broncos have to beat Mahomes. It's never a quarterback versus a quarterback. The Broncos team has to beat Mahomes. And there's no way Stafford's ever going to be better than Mahomes. I'm sorry. It just is. You just have to have a good enough team. And Vic Fangio's kept it close recently. He has. Obviously, Chiefs put it in a different gear when they got to the Super Bowl, or the playoffs. But still, I think Stafford gives you a chance. Broncos have not had a chance.
Right. Yeah. You're talking about a quarterback that day one probably improves the offense by at least 5 to 6 points, just because of what he's been able to do in the NFL and his leadership, his experience, all of that just being added to the offense is just a shot in the arm. And, you get to that 25, 26 point mark as an offense. Vic Fangio is a good enough defensive coach, even with a little bit of a lack of talent. He can still at least scheme the heck out of it to keep those games right there where the Broncos are standing a better chance. Right now, that's the problem is you see that the defense play pretty hard there early in the game, but then when they're down 2 touchdowns because the offense is doing nothing, it's hard to keep going and keep motivated to put that full effort in. That's where you're starting to see some of those blowouts really show up.
Yeah, the margin of error for this Broncos team is just so thin because the offense simply can't put up enough points. It's been an issue for 5 years now. And, at this point with how the Broncos offense is built, you could point to the second tight end with Nick Vannett being an issue or the right tackle position, but this offense is only going to get so much better as the quarterback progresses. That's the big difference here. The Broncos had a bottom 5 statistical quarterback this season. And shockingly enough, when you have a bottom 5 statistical quarterback, your offense isn't very good. And the offensive pieces around it, they've invested heavily. Offensive line, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. Comes down to how good that quarterback can be. And I don't think Drew Lock can't be the guy, but he's not the guy right now.
Right. All right. Black Knight 232 coming in here with the super. I would pay to see a debate between Zach and Nick on Stafford for the whole episode.
Oh, we are in, baby. Don't duck me, Zach. I'm in. No, I got nothing but respect for Zach. We have probably different opinions on Drew Lock. Mine probably fits more of the national perspective, where Zach's is probably mirroring more people closer to the Broncos, where it's at right now. I kind of dance around a little bit on Twitter, but if you ask people in the league what they thought of Drew Lock, they'd be like, yeah, got some upside. There's tools there. Has not been very good. When they're talking about like the trades of, the Broncos could throw Drew Lock in for Matt Stafford or for Deshaun Watson. First off, the Lions aren't interested in Drew Lock. It sounds like they'd rather go get a quarterback in this class. And also, you're competing with Tua Tagovailoa, who struggled this year, but you still was a 5th overall pick. Sam Darnold, who still has perceived talent and upside in the league. So, it's just, that's where we're at. I still think Drew Lock has the tools to be a good guy. I want to keep Drew Lock and bring in Matt Stafford. I would love that. Something Peyton's done everywhere he's gone, especially with the Vikings, is it hasn't just been one guy at the quarterback position. They brought in a plethora of resources. When it was, they brought in Sam Bradford after Teddy Bridgewater went down. They had Case Keenum. I mean, it's not just like one guy. You can't put yourself in that situation. Bronco fans should know how valuable the backup quarterback can be. We don't have Super Bowl 50 without Brock Osweiler. That it's Bubby Brister was there, Brian Greasy, Gary Kubiak. So I don't think you just ship off Drew Lock for nothing, but still, it's I think Zach and I definitely disagree on the immediate ability of Drew Lock and just how attainable that upside is.
Yeah. All right. Sharon Grindstaff coming in here with the super chat. Appreciate that. I'm tired of getting another team's quarterback. We have had Simeon, Sanchez, Lynch, Keenum, Osweiler, Flacco. We all know how they worked out enough. So first off, 3 of those guys were drafted by the Broncos themselves. Yeah. Simeon in the 7th round, Lynch in the 1st round, Osweiler in the 2nd round. And so we've seen the Broncos have tried to attack this position in many different ways. Some free agents like Keenum, Flacco, but they've also used huge draft capital to try to fix the quarterback position too. This is the problem: is quarterback is such a tough position to not only evaluate, but it really does rely on some luck.
Yeah,
I mean the Chiefs trading up to 10 to get Patrick Mahomes. If teams knew what Patrick Mahomes is going to be, he doesn't make it out of the top pick. I mean,
the Jaguars took a running back at 4 that year.
Yeah,
freaking running back,
right? And I even think about the Bills. They traded back. They had a chance for Mahomes and Watson, and they traded back. Now they got lucky the next year, then getting Josh Allen. And there's teams that were all over the board of Josh Allen. Unless you have like the number 1 or number 2 pick, it really is just a ton of luck that goes into picking a quarterback. And I mean, you can evaluate the heck out of them, but there's just something that the great ones have and the other ones don't. And sometimes it's luck of where they land. I still am one of those people that I think if David Carr goes to a franchise that has any kind of competency, I think he's a great quarterback. But he went to Houston, where they were an absolute dumpster of a franchise at that time, and they are now again. You're seeing a lot of times now the best quarterbacks are the guys that land in good situations, that are surrounded by good talent, that have good coaching, that have good front office, that have good ownership. It just takes a lot of stability to make that position work, even if they are a great player themselves.
And that's one of the big reasons I'm coining it. TM, trademarked. Nobody steal it. Stafford isn't the solution, but he can be part of the solution.
Yep.
And it's following that Chiefs model. So we'll see. We got Ashwin Asakin coming in here. Thank you very much. I like you. You're looking really adorable there. That looks like a kind of a, what is it, Tinder? Is that what the kids are on these days? A Bumble? Yeah. I've been in a relationship since junior year of high school, so I don't know nothing about those things, guys. Can Locke develop behind Stafford? Do you like it? I think that's a great option. And even if Locke ends up being a high-quality backup over the next 2 years, you're paying him next to nothing. And we know that he can play in the league. Now, it's to the extent of how good he can be, still up for debate. But, I mean, he can play in the league. And with Stafford's age, Locke's arm talent and athleticism, I think that's a great situation for both of them. The question really is, can Locke handle a demotion? And what does that mean for him in the locker room? It comes down to Drew Lock's ability to understand the situation and accept it and see it as an opportunity to grow and improve himself rather than a demotion and an attack on him as an individual. And I don't know Drew Lock. He seems like a good kid. So I couldn't speak to that, but that's probably the biggest thing. Can Drew Lock develop behind Stafford? Can Drew Lock handle being behind Stafford after being the guy? Don't know.
Yeah, a lot of questions there. All right. Holden Adams coming in here. In the draft, do we go scheme transcendent prospects in case Fangio is not back in 2022, or do we get the best player available that fits the system now?
That's a tough question.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't want to play like you're going to lose the next year.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, there is a lot of question marks that come with that. I still say you probably go a guy that fits the system, because you just don't want to set the coach up for failure, because then you're setting the entire franchise up for failure. Plus, then you don't even know who the next coach is going to be.
Yeah.
What kind of scheme are they coming in with? So you can't draft with the idea of, we're going to get a man coverage, Wade kind of system compared to a Fangio system. So I think you still try to get your guy that fits the best system. Now, if you have a guy that's transcendent, like a Caleb Farley, that I think can fit a lot of different schemes.
Mhm.
That's a home run there because you can have a guy that you can see the next year fit whatever system comes in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is the difficult thing. If the Broncos are trading back, you have to weigh the pros and the cons of the earlier in the draft. Typically, the more scheme transcendent the talent is. So if you're trading back and stocking up top 100 picks, that means you're likely filling out this defense with guys that are best fits for the Fangio defense. And if Fangio's gone, then you're stuck. You could be stuck with an Isaac Yiadom situation where he can make his hay in the NFL, just not a scheme fit. Doesn't fit here. And now he's doing okay with the Giants, but just again, you got to fit. So it's definitely a tough line to walk. I think you do. If I was Peyton, I would definitely be looking for guys who have that versatility that can fill multiple roles and be asked to fill or play multiple positions or multiple alignments. But you also have to stock the cupboard with the coach that you have. So it's a tough question. I don't know if there is an exact right answer. And also I don't think it's not just a dichotomy. There's obviously a lot of middle ground there.
Yeah.
We got Jason Christopher coming in here. Jason, thank you very much. Looking very reflective sitting there in front of that pool. I hope you're doing well. I would say Denver has dysfunction the last few seasons. How does Matt Stafford change that? Are we basing it off of stats, wins, experience? I think there is value of not having a question at the quarterback position. Coming in and having that solidifying presence at the quarterback position. I mean, if you bring in Stafford, he's the dude this year, and he's probably the dude next year. And there's no question about it. The guy's fall in line. He's been there. He's done that. He's got the pedigree, the number one overall pick. He's been that face of that franchise. I know a lot of people point out the QB wins, which, God, claw my eyes out with the Detroit Lions. But it doesn't take a rocket science to watch what that Lions offense looks like with Stafford and without Stafford. I mean, he is that offense. He is that team. And he just hasn't been supported enough. He's not a top 3 quarterback, and he hasn't been supported enough to take them over the hump. That cursed, godforsaken franchise. I feel bad, so bad for the Lions.
I mean, look at last year or 2 seasons ago, 2019. They were 4-2, 5-2, something like that. I can't remember. And I mean, they should have beat the Chiefs that year.
Well, this year, they were like on the precipice of going 6-2, if not for did you watch the week 1 game, the Bears Lions? DeAndre Swift, he couldn't have been more open.
I know, dropped that pass. But right. But I'm thinking in 2019, here they are cruising along, looking like they are a playoff team. And then that's when Stafford had his back injury. They go 0-8. And I mean, they just look like a completely dysfunctional franchise. I mean, it looked like one of the worst teams in all of football. And so that's the difference when you have that stabilization at the quarterback position. This is the dude. The young guys fall in line because they go, here's this guy. He has done it. He has done it well. And the veterans love it because, hey, here's another veteran that we know is going to do his job. Yeah. The young guys respect it. It fits well. I think right now you're seeing some. I'm not sure with Drew Lock. I think he's liked. I'm not sure he's respected in the locker room, especially by the veterans. Just because, I mean, you got to, and this is something we don't fully know, but I think it's just one of those. It's been a struggle at times, and he is kind of that young gun dancing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying sometimes the older guys, they're not as big of fans of some of that stuff. They're just like, just do your job, dude. Go out there, win us some games. And he hasn't always been able to do that.
Yeah, there's a difference between, it's kind of like, college. Carl, you did group projects back in the day, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's always great to have your friend in the group with you. You can have a better time. I always preferred having somebody in there that I knew was going to do the work and make it that much easier for me, and also that we could have a better grade. I'll definitely, messing around, fooling around, doing whatever, playing paper football, blah, blah, blah. That's great in a group project with a friend. Especially if there was money on the line, millions of dollars difference. I want the guy who's going to help me take me to the promised land and can make me earn more. So yeah, it's a good question, but I think it's probably they would fall in line.
Yeah.
We got Malcolm Brown coming in here. Malcolm, always great to see you. We really appreciate you. You are always dropping in good questions in here and very active in the chat. And we appreciate all you guys that do that in here. If we don't bring a big name quarterback, how do you guys feel about drafting all D except for a FT? He probably meant RT. They are right by each other. So I'm going to go RT for right tackle. For what it's worth, Carolina drafted all D last year. I guess it's interesting to point that out, but also interesting to point out that was the first time that's ever happened in the modern draft era. So I'm just going to go stats wise and say that's not likely. So they'll probably, you probably want the team's going to be looking for a running back somewhere. They're probably going to add maybe even another tight end. I mean, if you want to shed some contract, Nick Vanette's really easy to move on from, and you probably should, considering the cap's 20 to 30 million less than it was going to be. And then you have tackle questions. I mean, you're losing DeMar Dotson, you're losing Elijah Wilkinson. I don't trust Juwan James as far as I can throw him. So you probably need another tackle as well. So I mean, if the board falls that way, la-di-da, you win all defense, but that's probably not what happens.
Right.
So do we have any more super chats there, Bwana? You getting anything there?
I think that's it. We do have, we wanted to look at one of our reviews, just so you guys know, we do read these. This is coming from Jay Roper. And I really appreciate that you did this for us, man.
Got the long hair gang. I got to pull it out for him here. I told him we'd do this. And Jay, there's I guess there's 2 platforms on iTunes. And he commented on the one that has the less reviews and comments on it. So I missed it. But Jay, I told you I'd find it. Here it is. So we got Jay's coming in here. Jay's 9S99, otherwise known as Jay Roper. Thank you very much. I love this podcast. Very friendly, and have multiple hosts that are talented in their respective rights. They have amazing draft analysis, free agency analysis, and current issue analysis when it happens. Great group of characters that make your day more knowledgeable on everything Broncos related. I respect these men because they actually care about their followers, want their opinion, and the followers' ideas about the topic at hand. The key value about them is family. Thank you so much. That's really nice. Families might argue and fight, but at the end of the day, they stick together. I have seen hosts have a very well-informed argument with well-educated viewers. It leaves everyone in a better position on topics. Please be a part of this growing group because you will not regret it. We welcome anyone and everyone with open arms. Much love to the MHH gang. Go Broncos. Jay Roper. Jay, we appreciate you so much. Sorry, when Bwana was moving it there, I was kind of losing my place there. I needed the finger on the page kind of thing there. But we really do appreciate it. I'm just giving Bwana a hard time too. But that was really nice and well said. And I want to reiterate everything you said there. Guys, obviously Carl and I are the bags of hot air here. And Chad or Luke, when they come on, they can also be the bags of hot air. But we got Jay. Thank you, Jay. But really, what makes this podcast tick and what makes it worth it for me is the community and the interactions that we get with you guys. You guys pose excellent questions, and you guys are the drivers of the show. So obviously we have a topic in here, but I really do appreciate it. So we got Chase coming in too with a beautiful picture. Chase, let me know where that's at. I'm all about the hiking scenes. That's a gorgeous one. I need to get back out there. So before we get on out of here, Carl, I've seen there's a comment in the section. You were talking earlier about betting on a trades quarterback late. A lot of questions about that Texas A&M quarterback, Kellen Mond. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he has some decent moments. It just, there's too many times where it just doesn't look like he knows exactly what he's doing on the field. And there's just, in college, he can get away with some of that stuff. NFL, they're just going to eat him alive. He's almost too much of a developmental project for me. Jamie Newman, I'm a little bit higher on him. I'm still torn on the whole, and I hate to ever question a guy of why did you opt out? But his timing was really weird because it was right after they got JT Daniels. And I wonder if his agent was like, dude, like I said, I don't really want to question that. I really don't. I'm going to stay away.
I thought you were about to talk about JT Daniels. I was like, turn off the pod. We're done here.
Yeah, we're done here.
Carl's got a soft spot for that.
But I just, I wish he would have played this year. I really do. A lot of these guys. I mean, and I understand that there was personal reasons for not playing for a lot of them. But it just, especially the quarterbacks that have so little film, I have a tough time with any quarterback that hasn't played at least 2 years. It's huge risk because that is such a huge leap. You like to see what they can do from 1 year to the next. I'm a big fan of Trey Lance, but that is one of my biggest worries with him is that 1 year of success. I just wish he had this year.
Granted, he's a year younger than everybody else. It would be like evaluating Drew Lock based on his sophomore tape, where he had a 1-to-2 touchdown to interception ratio. That's the age we're talking about there. Oh, no, not JT Daniels to Denver in 2022. Andrew, go home. We're done here. We got to get out of here too, guys. We are already home because #staying safe. But we appreciate you guys. We also went over today, but it's because we love you. And there was some great topics to have. And also Luke came out on here. Guys, make sure you're following Luke while he's down at Mobile again. Follow him at Luke Patterson LP on Twitter. He's going to be coming at us all week with a bunch of good information. Guys, follow Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH. Also follow myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Very active on the Twitter sphere. Both those guys deserve a heck of a lot more followers. I probably deserve less than I have, but again, talk about being full of hot air. These thumbs, the most hot air ever. But make sure you guys head over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content and the MHH community content. I've released 3 articles in the last 48 hours, and I have another one coming down the tracks because, again, I've been on that manic pace right now, writing everything. So I appreciate it. Carl, you got anything coming down the tracks?
I'm going to figure out something for tomorrow. I thought I'd probably cover a little something maybe with the Senior Bowl, just some players that I really like down there and what they bring to the Broncos. Something along that lines. I mean, I'll have to look at what Luke's all got coming in the writing sphere as well. But I haven't really been thinking too much about it. I've got some crazy things going on, but I'll get to it. Don't worry about that.
Okay, well, keep those crazy things contained with Manscaped. No, okay, guys, but also head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Obviously, we had Jay's great contribution today in the comment section, and we really appreciate that. And if you guys want your review read here on air, I'm going to check. I've been trolling that and looking for that, and I missed that one, Jay, last time because, again, there's 2 feeds for God knows which reason. But again, we definitely will read them if you guys put them out here, as long as they are kept PG-13. I guess that's a Chad decision on the PG-13 rating. But I definitely want to read them out here and give you guys a shout out when you're giving us a shout out and helping us on iTunes. Another thing you can do to help us is like, subscribe, and share. If you are joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, guys, click those thumbs up. I see we got 35 here today. We really do appreciate that. That's a pretty good number of likes and heart reacts. I know that Luke and I only got to 30 last week, so I'm gonna have to give him a hard time about that one because we beat him by 5. And also, guys, all of that can really help us. It's not just this show. It's the Mile High Insiders. It's the Huddle Up Podcast. It's the Dove Valley Deep Divers. We're all a community. You guys are in a community. We're in yours. So we do appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Carl, any plans the rest of the night?
Got to go hit that rowing machine.
Ooh.
And, I guess I got to work on my hair game as well tonight.
No biting off kneecaps, huh? Thank you, Jay Roper, for that. Whatever the heck went on in Detroit. I don't know if it's what's the word I'm looking for here? I think there is some correlation between that press conference and Stafford being like, you know what? I think I've had enough in Detroit. It's get me the hell out of here with the biting off kneecaps. It was like an SNL skit. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I was both horrified and fascinating. And I mean, it's not like the crazy eyes looking like he just bumped some Adderall looking Adam Gase in his interview, but like, what the heck is going on?
Who was that? Who was that special teams coordinator for the Broncos a few years ago that everybody's like, oh my gosh, this guy is like running through walls energy?
Demichaelis? He was the one who, oh gosh, he's the Jags special teams coordinator now. Somebody in the comment section will probably get it. But guys, we really appreciate you. You guys are awesome. We're going to get on out of here. I'm going to go take care of the pets and the wife. And Carl, you got a date with a rowing machine. Also, guys, shout out to Buona Beast at John K. MHH. We wouldn't be here on the show without him. Oh, it was Broccolivo. Good job, guys. We love you. See, this is great. This is why crowdsourcing is incredible. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Buona Beast. Follow him on Twitter at John K. MHH. Everyone stay safe, be positive, test negative. We'll see you next time.